before you scroll, before you decide this is not for you, please give me just a moment, because there is a reason this message reached you now. And if you leave too early, you may miss what Allah is trying to show you. Many people watch reminders like this casually, but this one is different. This one only makes sense at the end. Right now, you may feel something is changing in your life, but you cannot explain it. Your heart feels unsettled, yet not afraid. You feel detached from things you once held tightly. You feel tired of fighting, tired of chasing, tired of forcing, and you may be thinking, what is happening to me? Listen carefully. Most people think destiny changes with events, but Allah changes destiny without noise. He starts with feelings, with discomfort, with silence, with the slow shifting of the heart. And here is the part most people misunderstand, and this is why many people panic and ruin the process. If you don't understand why Allah makes you feel this way, you will fight the change. You will cling to what He is trying to remove, and you will delay your own relief. So please, stay with me until the end. Not because of me, but because by the end, you will recognize yourself in a way you never have before. And once you see it, you will understand why Allah had to change your heart before He changed your life. Now, let us begin. Allah changes your heart before He changes your life. My dear brother, my dear sister, when Allah is preparing to change your destiny, He does not rush. Allah never rushes a soul. He does not shock your life all at once. He does not turn everything upside down in a single moment. He does not overwhelm you with sudden loss or sudden change. Allah is far more gentle than that. He begins with something very quiet, something only you can feel, something the world around you does not notice. He begins with your heart. You may not even realize it at first. There is no loud sign, no dramatic event, no clear reason. But slowly, something inside you starts to shift. The things that once occupied your mind day and night do not feel as heavy anymore. You still think about them, you still remember them, but they no longer sit deep inside your chest the way they used to. You may sit alone one day and notice, I used to care so much about this. Why does it feel different now? And that question itself can be unsettling, because human beings are not used to change without explanation. We like reasons, we like clarity, we like to understand why something is happening. But Allah does not always explain first. Sometimes He prepares first. You begin to notice that people who once had a strong emotional hold on you no longer control your mood the same way. Their words do not shake you like before. Their absence does not frighten you like before. Their presence does not excite you like before. And you wonder, have I become distant? Have I become cold? Why don't I feel the same? My dear brother, this is not coldness. Coldness hardens the heart. What you are feeling is softness. This is Allah gently removing chains from your heart that you did not even know were there. Because attachment can become a burden when it is tied to the wrong place. And Allah does not want His servant walking into a new chapter, still carrying the weight of an old one. So He loosens your grip, not suddenly, not painfully, but gradually. You start caring less about things that once defined you. You stop chasing certain validations. You stop begging for certain outcomes, and you are not forcing this change. That is the most important part. You are not convincing yourself. You are not trying to move on. You are not repeating words to make yourself feel better. It is simply happening. That is how you know it is from Allah. Because when change comes from Allah, it does not exhaust the heart. It frees it. You still respect the past. You still honor what once mattered, but you are no longer controlled by it. And that is a gift. Many people think destiny changes only when doors open, but often destiny begins to change when attachments loosen. Because sometimes the door cannot open until your hands are free. Allah knows exactly what your heart can handle. He knows what would break you and what would heal you. So before He removes something from your life, He removes its power over your heart. Before He closes a chapter, it gives you acceptance. Before He creates distance, He creates peace. That is mercy. You see, if Allah were to remove certain people, certain dreams, certain plans, while your heart was still tightly attached, the pain would be unbearable. So Allah prepares you slowly. He changes how you feel about things. before He changes the things themselves. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer afraid of losing what once terrified you. That is not strength you built alone. That is Allah strengthening you quietly. Your heart starts depending less on people and more on Allah. You stop expecting fulfillment from creation and begin finding calm in remembrance. And this shift does not make noise. It happens in silence. Sometimes at night, when no one is watching. Sometimes in moments of stillness, when you are alone with your thoughts. Sometimes after a long period of confusion, where nothing made sense. And slowly, very slowly, you realize that you are not fighting the change anymore. You are accepting it. That acceptance is not surrender to loss. It is surrender to Allah. And surrender is not weakness. It is trust. You may still feel emotional. You may still feel memories rise. But the pain is no longer sharp. It is softer now because Allah has wrapped it in wisdom. This is how Allah protects His servant. He does not just change your situation. He prepares your heart to survive the change. He does not just move you forward. He heals you while moving you. So if you feel your heart becoming lighter, if you feel less attached without trying, if you feel peace replacing fear, then do not panic. Do not question yourself harshly. This is not something wrong. This is something sacred. This is Allah quietly telling you, my servant, I am about to take you somewhere new and He wants you ready. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very important you must understand at this stage. When Allah begins to change your heart, it can feel unfamiliar, and humans fear unfamiliar feelings. You may look at yourself and think, I don't recognize myself anymore. But this is not loss of identity. This is release. You are not becoming empty. You are becoming lighter. What Allah removes from your heart was never meant to stay there forever. Some attachments were lessons. Some loves were bridges. Some dreams were stepping stones. They were not destinations. And Allah, in His mercy, does not allow His servant to remain stuck on a bridge when the destination is ahead. So He gently guides you forward. You may notice that you no longer have the energy to force things to work. You stop forcing conversations. You stop forcing relationships. You stop forcing plans. Not because you gave up on life, but because you trust Allah more than before. You realize that what is meant for you does not need chasing that drains your soul. This realization itself is a form of guidance, because when the heart is ready, Allah removes the struggle from obedience and removes the desperation from desire. You begin to understand something very deep. What is written for you cannot miss you, and what is not written for you cannot be held by force. This understanding brings peace. A peace that does not depend on circumstances. A peace that exists even when answers are missing. You may still feel moments of sadness. You may still feel moments of nostalgia. That is human. Allah did not create you without emotion. But notice the difference now. The sadness does not destroy you. The memories do not paralyze you. The past no longer traps you. It passes through you, not over you. That is healing. And healing does not always feel like happiness. Sometimes healing feels like quiet acceptance. Sometimes healing feels like, I'm okay even if things don't return. That sentence alone is proof that Allah has strengthened your heart. You see, Allah does not just change your destiny. He changes how you carry destiny. Before, you may have relied on people to feel safe. Now, you rely on Allah. Before, you may have feared endings. Now, you trust them. Before, you may have begged for answers. Now, you wait calmly. This is growth that cannot be taught by words. It can only be taught by Allah. And often, this change happens before you even realize you are ready. That is why Allah starts with the heart. Because once the heart is prepared, the external change cannot break you. When something eventually leaves your life, you do not collapse. When something eventually changes, you do not lose yourself. Because Allah already did the hardest work inside you. He made your heart strong enough to accept His plan. And here is something very beautiful. When Allah removes attachment from your heart, He creates space. And Allah never leaves space empty. He fills it with trust. He fills it with clarity. He fills it with nearness to Him. Sometimes He fills it with something better. Sometimes He fills it with peace alone. And peace alone is already a gift greater than many blessings. You may not see the next chapter yet. You may not know what is coming, but your heart knows one thing clearly now. You are not afraid anymore. That fear that once controlled your decisions has softened. That desperation that once ruled your thoughts has loosened. And this is why destiny changes quietly, because loud changes frighten the heart. But qui est préparation strengthens it. So if you are in this phase right now, do not rush yourself. Do not pressure yourself to move on faster. Do not force emotions you are not ready for. Allah's timing is perfect. Every softening of your heart is intentional. Every loosening of attachment is protective. Every calm you feel in uncertainty is guidance. And one day, when you look back, you will understand why Allah changed your heart before He changed your life. You will understand why certain things faded before others appeared. You will understand why peace arrived before answers did. Until that day, rest your heart. Allah is closer to you than you think. And He is walking you into your next chapter with care, patience, and love. The restlessness you feel is not anxiety, it is growth. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a feeling many people experience but very few understand. It is not fear. It is not panic. It is not sadness. Yet it unsettles the heart. You wake up and feel uncomfortable even though nothing around you has changed. Your life looks the same on the outside, but inside something feels off. You cannot explain it properly. You cannot point to one clear reason, but you know deep inside that you are no longer at ease where you are. This feeling confuses many people. They think something is wrong with them. They think they are ungrateful. They think they are losing motivation. They think they are becoming negative. But my dear brother, my dear sister, this feeling is not always a problem. Sometimes it is a sign of growth. There is a restlessness that comes from fear, and there is a restlessness that comes from outgrowing your surroundings. These two feel very different, but people often mix them up. Fear makes the heart tight. Growth makes the heart stretch. Fear drains you. Growth feels uncomfortable, but it does not destroy you. This restlessness you feel is not screaming. It is whispering. It is not pushing you into panic. It is nudging you toward change. You may notice that things which once felt normal now feel heavy. You do the same routine, but it no longer satisfies you. You sit with the same people, but the conversations feel empty. You return to the same places, but they no longer feel like home. And you ask yourself quietly, why don't I feel settled anymore? Nothing went wrong. You grew. Allah does not allow a soul to remain comfortable in a place that can no longer contain it. Comfort can become a cage when the soul is ready to expand. So Allah introduces discomfort, not to punish you, not to confuse you, but to move you. This restlessness is often Allah's way of saying, my servant, you do not belong here anymore. And this message does not come loudly. If it came loudly, you would resist it. You would argue with it. You would fear it. So Allah makes it gentle. You simply feel uneasy. You begin to question things you never questioned before. You begin to see cracks in places you once trusted completely. You begin to feel distant from things that once defined you. This is not loss. This is awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. Many people try to silence this feeling. They distract themselves. They force comfort. They blame exhaustion. They scroll, consume, and stay busy. But the feeling returns because it is not coming from the mind alone. It is coming from the soul. And the soul does not lie. The soul knows when it has outgrown a season. Just like a child eventually outgrows their clothes, the soul outgrows certain environments, roles, and attachments. If the child stays in clothes that no longer fit, they feel restricted. If the soul stays in a place it has outgrown, it feels restless. That restlessness is not disobedience, it is preparation. Allah prepares His servants before He moves them. And preparation does not always feel peaceful. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable. You may feel like you are standing between two worlds. The old no longer satisfies you. The new has not yet appeared. This space feels strange. You do not feel settled anywhere. And this is where many people become afraid. They say, I feel lost. But my dear brother, my dear sister, being between chapters does not mean you are lost. It means the page is turning. Allah does not turn page quickly. He lets you feel the shift. He lets you release slowly. He lets you detach gently. Because sudden movement can scare the heart. So He allows this phase of restlessness. You may notice that you are no longer excited by the same goals. The same dreams no longer pull you forward with the same strength. This does not mean you fail. It means Allah is realigning your direction. Sometimes Allah closes doors not by locking them, but by making you uncomfortable standing in front of them. You stay there, but your heart does not settle. And eventually you move. Not because you were forced, but because you were ready. This restlessness is not meant to be fought. It is meant to be understood. Because when you understand it, it stops feeling scary. You realize that Allah is not taking something away from you without purpose. He is guiding you away from stagnation. He is protecting you from staying too long in a place that no longer grows you. Growth always feels uncomfortable before it feels right. Seeds break before they rise, and the breaking feels like restlessness. You may also notice that silence feels heavier now. You cannot distract yourself as easily as before. When you are alone, your thoughts speak louder. This is not overthinking. This is reflection. Allah sometimes removes noise so the soul can speak. And when the soul speaks, it tells the truth. It tells you when it is time to move on. Not with words, but with feelings. And Allah communicates with feelings more often than people realize. This restlessness is a form of guidance. It is not pushing you to run. It is inviting you to grow. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very important you must remember during this phase. When restlessness comes from growth, it does not demand quick decisions. It does not shout, leave now. It does not push you into reckless action. It simply makes staying uncomfortable. And this is Allah's mercy. Because if Allah pushed you suddenly, you might fall. But if Allah gently unsettles you, you learn to walk on your own. You may notice that your heart now becomes tired of pretending, tired of smiling where you do not feel peace, tired of agreeing where your soul disagrees, tired of adjusting where you are shrinking yourself. This tiredness is not laziness. It is honesty. Your soul is becoming honest with you. Before, you could tolerate things that drained you. Now, even a little drain feels heavy. Before, you could ignore discomfort. Now, it follows you quietly until you pay attention. This is not weakness. This is awareness growing. Allah is teaching you to listen to your inner state. Because when a person learns to listen to their soul, they stop making choices that destroy them slowly. Many people stay in places that hurt them only because they are familiar. Allah does not want familiarity to trap you, so He removes comfort, not all at once. Just enough to wake you up. You may ask Allah, why don't I feel settled anymore? And Allah's answer is gentle, because this place is no longer meant to hold you. That answer does not come in words, it comes in feelings. You may feel disconnected from people you once felt close to, not because they changed, but because you changed. And growth always changes the way we relate to the world. This can feel lonely. You may feel like no one understands you anymore, like you do not fully belong anywhere. But this loneliness is not abandonment, it is space. Space for you to meet yourself again. Space for you to reconnect with Allah without distraction. Space for clarity to form. Allah often creates distance before He gives direction. If everything around you remained loud and familiar, you would never hear the call to grow. So Allah quiets things, not to isolate you forever, but to prepare you properly. During this phase, you may feel torn. Part of you wants the safety of the old. Another part of you knows you cannot go back. This inner tension is painful, but it is also powerful because it means your soul is moving forward. Even when your mind is hesitant, Allah allows this tension so you do not rush backward out of fear. Instead, you pause. And in that pause, you learn trust. You learn that you do not need to see the full picture to take the next step. You learn that discomfort does not always mean danger. Sometimes it means destiny is rearranging. And Allah does not rearrange without wisdom. You may also notice that your tolerance for noise is decreasing. Not just noise around you, but noise inside you. Drama feels exhausting. Arguments feel pointless. Constant talking feels draining. This is another sign. Your soul is craving depth, not distraction. Allah is guiding you towards substance, toward meaning, toward a life that feeds your heart, not just your habits. And because of this, you may feel out of place in environments that once felt normal. That is okay. Not every place is meant to hold every version of you. Some places were meant for who you were, not who you are becoming. And Allah loves you too much to keep you where you would shrink. You may fear change during this phase. You may worry about making mistakes. You may worry about losing people. You may worry about stepping into the unknown. But notice something beautiful. Even in your restlessness, there is a strange calm. You are not panicking. You are unsettled, but not hopeless. This calm is not from certainty. It is from trust. Allah places trust in the heart before He shows the outcome. So if you feel restless but not destroyed, uneasy but not lost, then understand this clearly. Allah is guiding you gently. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are transitioning. And transitions are always uncomfortable. They require patience. They require faith. They require surrender. But they also lead to growth you could not achieve by staying comfortable. So do not rush this phase. Do not force clarity. Do not pressure yourself for answers. Allah will open the next door when your heart is ready to walk through it. Until then, allow yourself to feel. Allow the restlessness to teach you. Allow the discomfort to shape you. Because one day, very soon, you will look back and realize this uneasy feeling was not a problem. It was a message, and it was guiding you exactly where you needed to go. Allah quietly removes desires that would have delayed you. My dear brother, my dear sister, there comes a time in a believer's life when Allah begins to change something very subtle yet very powerful. It is not your situation. It is not your environment. It is not even your struggles. It is what your heart wants. One day you notice that the things you once prayed for again and again no longer pull you the same way. You still remember those prayers. You still respect the effort you once made. But the fire inside you for those desires has softened. And this can be confusing. You may sit quietly and think, why don't I want this anymore? Why does this no longer excite me? Why does my heart feel distant from what I once begged Allah for? And this confusion can be painful because we often believe that strong desire means strong faith and losing desire means losing direction. But this is not always true. Sometimes losing desire is actually Allah protecting you. You see, my dear brother, my dear sister, not everything we desire is bad, but not everything we desire is meant to stay with us forever. Some desires are temporary, some are lessons. Some are steps that lead us somewhere else. And Allah in His wisdom knows exactly when a desire will help you grow and when that same desire will begin to delay you. So when Allah is preparing to elevate you, He gently begins to remove cravings that would slow your journey. He does not always remove the object itself. He removes the attachment first. You wake up one day and realize that you no longer feel desperate. You no longer feel restless chasing the same thing. You no longer feel empty if it is missing. And you did not force this change. That is the key. You did not wake up and decide, I will stop wanting this. It simply faded. This is not coincidence. This is Allah's hand working quietly inside your heart because Allah is kind. If He removed something suddenly while your heart was still clinging to it, the pain would be sharp and heavy. So instead, He loosens the grip first. He softens the longing. He calms the craving. By the time something leaves, your heart is already stronger. This is mercy. You may also notice that sins which once felt easy now feel uncomfortable. Things you once ignored now trouble your conscience. Behaviors you once justified now feel heavy on your soul. This is not guilt meant to punish you. This is awareness meant to protect you. Allah increases your sensitivity before He increases your responsibility. Because a heart that feels deeply is a heart that can be trusted. You may notice that worldly goals which once consumed your thoughts now feel smaller. You still work, you still try, but you are no longer consumed. Your happiness no longer depends entirely on outcomes. And this shift is not laziness, it is balance. Allah is teaching your heart not to worship results. You are learning to work without being enslaved by desire. That is freedom. Some people never reach this stage. They spend their entire lives chasing things that never satisfy them. But Allah chooses certain servants and gently pulls them away from endless chasing. Not because those servants are weak, but because Allah wants to protect their hearts from exhaustion. When desire fades, space is created. And Allah never creates space without a reason. He fills that space with clarity, with calm, with trust. Sometimes He fills it with something better. Sometimes He fills it with peace alone. And peace alone is a blessing many people chase but never find. You may fear this change at first. You may think, if I stop wanting this, who will I become? What if I lose motivation? What if I lose direction? But what you are actually losing is desperation. And desperation is not direction. Allah does not want you driven by hunger that never ends. He wants you guided by purpose that does not drain you. This is why Allah sometimes removes desire before He removes opportunity. Because a heart that is no longer desperate can make wiser choices. A heart that is no longer chasing can see clearly. And clarity is necessary before elevation. You may also notice that when certain desires fade, you feel lighter, less anxious, less pressured, less afraid of missing out. This is not emptiness. This is relief. Your soul is breathing again. Allah is teaching you that fulfillment does not come from holding tightly to everything you want. It comes from trusting what Allah chooses to keep for you. And trusting Allah always brings peace. So if you feel that certain desires are leaving your heart, do not panic. Do not think something is wrong with you. Do not force yourself to want what Allah is gently removing. Because when Allah removes a desire, it is often because it would have delayed you, distracted you, or wounded you later. Allah sees the future you cannot see, and He loves you too much to let you chase something that would have cost you your peace. My dear brother, my dear sister, when Allah begins to remove certain desires from your heart, it can feel like something inside you is going quiet, and silence can feel uncomfortable to the human soul. We are used to noise. We are used to wanting. We are used to chasing something, anything, just to feel alive. So when that strong wanting softens, you may feel strange. You may feel like a fire has gone out. But listen carefully. Not every fire is meant to burn forever. Some fires warm you for a season. If they keep burning, they start to burn you. Allah knows this. That is why He removes certain desires before they turn into harm. You see, desire can be beautiful when it leads you closer to Allah. But desire can become dangerous when it begins to control you, exhaust you, or define your worth. Allah does not want your heart chained to anything fragile. So He loosens the chain, slowly, gently, without hurting you. You may notice that you no longer feel jealous the way you used to. You no longer compare your life constantly to others. You no longer feel that rush when someone else gets what you once wanted. This is not numbness. This is healing. Comparison comes from desire that feels threatened. When desire fades, comparison loses its power. Allah is freeing your heart from a prison many people never escape. You may also notice that your du'as begin to change. You no longer repeat the same request again and again with desperation. Instead, your du'as become softer, calmer, more trusting. You start saying things like, Ya Allah, if this is good for me, keep it. And if it is not, remove it from my heart. This is a very high level of faith, because only a heart that trusts Allah deeply can make such a dua sincerely. And Allah does not bring a heart to this level unless He is preparing it for something better. You may wonder, why now, Allah? Why am I losing interest now? Because timing matters. A desire that once pushed you forward may now be holding you back. Allah sees when a desire has completed its purpose in your life. Maybe it taught you patience. Maybe it taught you effort. Maybe it taught you what you truly value. Once the lesson is complete, Allah gently closes that chapter. And when Allah closes a chapter, He does not want you standing there crying over pages that were never meant to be reread. So He helps you let go. Sometimes the letting go happens before you even realize it is happening. One day you wake up and feel less urgency, less pressure, less hunger, and you wonder why. This is Allah giving your soul rest. Because constant wanting is tiring, constant chasing is exhausting. And Allah does not want your life to be one long race where you are always behind something that never satisfies you. He wants you steady, grounded, peaceful. That is why when desire fades, peace slowly grows. You may also notice that you become more content with simple things, moments of quiet, time alone, a sincere prayer, a calm heart. These things did not excite you before. Now they nourish you. This is a sign of spiritual maturity. Allah is training your heart to find fulfillment where it truly exists. Not in constant achievement, not in approval, not in possession, but in connection. And connection with Allah does not demand chasing, it demands presence. When Allah removes certain desires, He is not leaving you empty. He is making room for clarity, room for purpose, room for a direction that does not drain you. Sometimes He replaces an old desire with a higher one. Sometimes He replaces it with peace alone. And peace alone is not small. Peace is rare. Peace is precious. Peace is a gift. Many people have everything except. You may still work toward goals. You may still dream. But now your dreams do not control your emotions. Your goals do not define your worth. Your outcomes do not decide your happiness. This balance is powerful because now success cannot make you arrogant and failure cannot destroy you. That stability is not accidental. It is Allah's preparation. A heart that is not ruled by desire can be trusted with more. That is why Allah removes desire before He gives responsibility. That is why Allah softens cravings before He elevates position. Because elevation without detachment is dangerous. You may look around and see people who have everything they ever wanted, yet they are anxious, restless, and empty. That is because desire led them, not wisdom. Allah does not want that for you. So He intervenes early. He changes what you want. And when Allah changes what you want, He changes where you are going. So if you feel a desire leaving your heart, do not grab it tightly out of fear. Do not force yourself to feel what Allah is gently removing. Trust this process. Trust that Allah knows what He is doing. He sees the future version of you that you cannot yet imagine. And He is shaping your heart to fit that future with ease, not struggle. One day, you will look back and realize that what you stopped wanting was exactly what would have delayed you. And you will thank Allah not only for what He gave you, but for what He saved you from. Until then, let your heart rest. Allah is guiding you gently, and guidance that comes with peace is always from Him. Your heart becomes softer, not weaker. My dear brother, my dear sister, there comes a time in life when you notice something changing inside you and it feels confusing at first. You begin to feel things more deeply than you used to. Small words affect you. Small moments touch your heart. Silence feels louder. Pain reaches you faster. And you begin to wonder quietly, why am I becoming so sensitive? Why does everything feel deeper now? Why can't I brush things off the way I used to? You may even fear this change. You may think sensitivity means weakness. You may think softness means you are breaking. You may think feeling deeply means you are losing strength. But my dear brother, my dear sister, this is not weakness. This is refinement. Allah does not harden the hearts. He intends to elevate. He softens them. A hard heart cannot carry wisdom. A hard heart cannot hold patience. A hard heart cannot feel mercy. So before Allah raises a servant, He refines their inner world. You see, many people confuse strength with hardness. They think being strong means not feeling, not caring, not being moved. But this is not the strength Allah loves. The strength Allah gives is calm strength, gentle strength, patient strength. It is the strength to feel pain without becoming bitter. It is the strength to be kind without being weak. It is the strength to stay soft in a hard world. When Allah begins to soften your heart, He is not taking something away from you. He is giving you something rare. He is giving you awareness. You begin to feel when something is wrong before it destroys you. You begin to sense when a situation is draining you before it empties you. You begin to recognize pain early instead of ignoring it until it becomes damage. This sensitivity is protection. Before, you may have tolerated things that hurt you. You may have laughed through pain. You may have ignored warning signs in people and situations. Now, your heart no longer allows that. Not because you are fragile, but because you are becoming honest. Allah is teaching your heart to speak to you clearly. You may notice that your reactions have changed. Things that once passed unnoticed now stay with you. Words spoken carelessly affect you more deeply. Injustice troubles your soul more than before. This is not emotional weakness. This is moral strength. Allah softens the hearts of those He wants to trust with responsibility, because a person who feels deeply is careful with others. A person who feels deeply does not harm easily. And Allah loves servants who do not harm. You may also notice that you feel more emotional during prayer. Your eyes fill more easily. Your heart feels closer to Allah. Simple words in dua now move you more than long speeches ever did. This is a beautiful sign. Allah draws hearts closer to Him by softening them, not by hardening them. Tears are not a sign of broken faith. They are often a sign of living faith. When your heart softens, your connection with Allah deepens. You begin to speak to Him more honestly. You begin to admit weakness instead of hiding it. You begin to ask for help instead of pretending strength. And Allah loves this sincerity. You may feel overwhelmed at times by how much you feel. You may wish you could return to being unaffected. But listen carefully. Being unaffected is not peace. It is numbness. Allah does not want numb servants. He wants alive hearts. A heart that feels pain can also feel joy. A heart that feels loss can also feel gratitude. A heart that feels fear can also feel trust. Softness allows the full range of human experience, and Allah created you to experience life, not to shut down from it. Sometimes Allah softens your heart after a long period of hardness caused by survival. You were strong because you had to be. You endured because there was no choice. You learned to ignore pain because stopping would have broken you. But now Allah is saying gently, you don't need to survive like that anymore. So He allows your heart to feel again. This can feel scary because feeling means vulnerability. But vulnerability with Allah is not danger, it is safety. Allah does not expose your softness to harm, He exposes it to healing. And when Allah softens your heart, He also sharpens your wisdom. You begin to choose your words more carefully. You begin to treat people more gently. You begin to walk away from harm more quickly. Soft hearts are not careless hearts. They are careful hearts, and careful hearts are powerful. You may notice that you now prefer peace over proving yourself, calm over conflict, understanding over winning. This is not defeat. This is maturity. Allah is lifting you above unnecessary battles. He is teaching you that not every fight deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. This is a higher level of strength. The strength to remain gentle when you could be harsh. The strength to remain calm when you could react. The strength to remain kind when the world gives you reasons not to be. So if you feel softer now, do not judge yourself. Do not call yourself weak. Do not try to harden your heart again. Allah softened it for a reason. He is preparing you to carry more wisdom, more trust, and more responsibility. My dear brother, my dear sister, as your heart becomes softer, you may start to notice something else happening quietly inside you. You begin to feel more aware of yourself. You notice your thoughts more clearly. You notice your reactions more honestly. You notice when something does not sit right within you. Before, you may have ignored these signals. Before, you may have pushed through discomfort. Before, you may have told yourself, it's nothing. Now, you cannot ignore it. And this is not because you have become fragile. It is because Allah has made your heart attentive. An attentive heart is a protected heart. Allah does not want you to live on autopilot anymore. He wants you awake. Awake to your feelings. Awake to your intentions. Awake to what nourishes you and what drains you. This softness allows you to pause before reacting. It allows you to reflect before speaking. It allows you to feel before choosing. And in that pause, Allah places wisdom. You may also notice that your compassion for others increases. You begin to understand pain you once judged. You begin to recognize struggles you once overlooked. You begin to see people not just for what they show, but for what they carry quietly. This compassion does not make you weak. It makes you human. And Allah loves hearts that understand, not hearts that harden. You may feel sadness more easily now. You may feel joy more deeply now. Your emotions may feel closer to the surface. This is not instability. This is life returning to your heart. A heart that has been softened by Allah is alive. A heart that is hard may appear strong, but it is often distant. Allah wants closeness. Closeness to Him, closeness to truth, closeness to sincerity. And closeness requires softness. You may notice that certain words affect you more now, not because the words are powerful, but because your heart is listening. You may notice that injustice disturbs you more deeply. You may feel heavier when you see suffering, even if it does not touch your life directly. This is not burden, this is responsibility. Allah gives sensitivity to those He trusts with care, because a person who feels deeply does not hurt carelessly. You may also notice that your patience is changing, not disappearing but transforming. You are less patient with things that damage your peace and more patient with things that build your character. You no longer tolerate disrespect quietly. You no longer accept harm just to keep peace, but you also no longer react with anger. This balance is not easy. It is learned, and Allah teaches it slowly. Softness does not mean you allow yourself to be wounded. It means you protect yourself without becoming bitter. Allah is teaching you boundaries with kindness. You may also find that your relationship with Allah feels closer now. Prayer feels different. Dua feels more honest. You speak to Allah not with rehearsed words, but with your true feelings. You may find yourself saying, Ya Allah, I am tired. Ya Allah, I am scared. Ya Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you. This honesty is beautiful. Allah does not need perfection from you. He loves sincerity. A softened heart does not hide behind strength. It comes as it is. And Allah responds to that. You may cry more easily now, and if you do not be ashamed. Tears soften what pain hardened. Tears wash what words cannot clean. Allah sees every tear, and He does not waste them. They are not signs of defeat. They are signs of release. As your heart softens, you may also notice that your desires change. You crave peace more than praise. You value calm more than control. You prefer depth over noise. This is a sign of inner maturity. Allah is moving you toward a life that feeds your soul, not just your image. You may feel misunderstood during this time. People may say you have changed, and they may be right. You have, but not in a way that is wrong. You have changed in a way that is necessary. Not everyone understands softness. Some people confuse it with weakness because they have never experienced its strength. But Allah knows. He knows that a soft heart can endure storms without becoming stone. He knows that a soft heart can carry pain without spreading it. He knows that a soft heart can love without losing itself. This is why Allah softens you before He elevates you. Because elevation without softness leads to arrogance. Power without compassion leads to harm. But when Allah combines strength with softness, He creates balance. And balanced hearts are safe hearts. You may still have moments where you wish you were less affected, where you wish things did not touch you so deeply. But remember this gently. If Allah softened your heart, it is because He trusts it. He trusts it to carry more truth. He trusts it to carry more responsibility. He trusts it to carry more light. So do not harden yourself again. Do not tell yourself to stop feeling. Do not close what Allah opened. Let your heart remain soft but guided. Let it feel but anchored in faith. Allah is not weakening you. He is preparing you. And one day, you will understand why this softness was necessary. You will see how it protected you from harm, guided you away from damage, and brought you closer to Allah than you ever were before. Until then, be gentle with yourself. Allah is gentle with you, and He knows exactly what He is doing. Allah removes people without explaining Himself. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a moment in life that hurts quietly. It does not come with shouting or drama. It comes with silence, with distance, with absence. And that moment is when people begin to leave your life without explanation. No argument, no clear reason, no final conversation. They simply fade. And this confuses the heart. You sit alone and replay memories. You ask yourself questions that have no answers. You wonder what you did wrong. You wonder if you were not enough. You wonder if you should have tried harder, spoken differently, changed yourself somehow. This pain is heavy because the human heart needs closure. But sometimes Allah does not give closure through people. Sometimes He gives closure through acceptance. You see, when Allah is changing your destiny, He often changes your surroundings. And one of the hardest changes is when Allah removes people without explaining Himself. This does not mean those people were evil. This does not mean you were wrong. This does not mean love was fake. It simply means alignment changed. And alignment matters more than attachment. Allah sees paths we cannot see. He sees futures we cannot imagine. And He knows exactly who can walk with you into that future and who cannot. So sometimes before you reach a new place in life, Allah clears the road behind you. Not because you failed, but because certain people were meant for a chapter, not the entire book. This is difficult to accept because we grow attached to familiarity. Even when familiarity hurts, it feels safer than the unknown. So when Allah removes familiar faces, the heart resists. You may feel abandoned, you may feel rejected, you may feel replaced. But listen carefully, my dear brother, my dear sister. Allah does not remove people to punish you. He removes them to protect you. Sometimes people leave because they can no longer benefit from you. Sometimes they leave because your growth exposes their comfort. Sometimes they leave because your peace makes them uncomfortable. And sometimes they leave because Allah Himself is protecting you from harm you cannot see yet. Not every danger announces itself. Some danger come smiling. Some dangers come pretending to care. Some dangers stay close for years before they begin to drain you slowly. Allah, in His mercy, does not wait until you are destroyed. He intervenes early. And intervention does not always feel kind in the moment. It feels painful. You may ask Allah, why would you allow this? I trusted them. And Allah's answer is gentle but firm. That is why I removed them. Because trust placed in the wrong hands becomes a wound, and Allah loves you too much to let wounds become permanent. You may notice that after certain people leave, your heart feels heavy at first, but your soul slowly feels lighter. The noise reduces, the pressure eases, the emotional confusion calms, and you realize something important. Some relationships were loud, not loving. Some connections were draining, not supportive. Some presences were familiar, not safe. But you could not see this clearly while they were still there. So Allah removed the veil by removing the person. This is painful clarity, but clarity saves lives. You may feel tempted to chase explanations, to ask for reasons, to reopen doors Allah has closed. This is natural, but be careful. Not every door that closes needs to be reopened. Some doors close because behind them is harm. Allah does not need to explain every removal. His wisdom is enough. When Allah removes people without explanation, He is teaching you something very important. He is teaching you to trust Him more than people. Not in a way that makes you cold. Not in a way that makes you isolated. But in a way that anchors your heart. Because hearts anchored in people shake easily. Hearts anchored in Allah remain steady. You may also notice that after certain people leave, you begin to discover parts of yourself that were hidden. You think more clearly, you feel more honestly, you reconnect with Allah more deeply. This is not coincidence. Some people block your growth without realizing it, not intentionally, but through their expectations, their dependence, their influence. Allah removes them not because they are bad, but because your soul needs space. Space to breathe. Space to heal, space to become who Allah is shaping you to be. Growth requires room, and sometimes the room comes only when certain people leave. This does not mean you stop loving them. This does not mean you erase memories. This does not mean you become bitter. It means you accept that not everyone is meant to stay. And acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. Allah knows that if some people stayed longer, they would have delayed you. They would have confused you. They would have hurt you more deeply later. So He removes them now. Early pain is better than late destruction. You may still miss them. You may still pray for them. You may still care. That is human. Allah does not expect you to turn off your heart. He expects you to trust Him with it. And trusting Allah means believing that every removal has a reason, even if you never understand it fully. This stage of removal can feel lonely. You may feel like your circle is shrinking. You may feel like you are walking alone. But loneliness does not always mean abandonment. Sometimes it means selection. Allah reduces noise so He can speak to you clearly. He reduces distraction so you can see truth. He reduces companionship so you can strengthen your connection with Him. And connection with Allah fills gaps no human ever could. If you are in this phase right now, be gentle with yourself. Do not rush healing. Do not blame yourself endlessly. Do not beg people to return when Allah has moved them away. What Allah removes with wisdom should not be chased with emotion, because what is meant to stay will never need chasing. You stop reacting because Allah is taking control. My dear brother, my dear sister, there comes a moment in your life when you notice something quietly changing in the way you respond to the world around you. It does not arrive suddenly. It does not announce itself. It simply begins to appear in small moments. You notice that you no longer react the way you used to. Words that once triggered anger now pass through you. Situations that once demanded explanation no longer feel worth your energy. Arguments that once pulled you in now feel distant, as if your heart is stepping back instead of stepping forward. At first, this change can feel strange. You may ask yourself, why don't I feel the need to respond anymore? Why am I quieter than before? Why does defending myself feel unnecessary now? And sometimes you may even worry. You may think silence means weakness. You may think calm means defeat. You may think not reacting means you are letting people win. But my dear brother, my dear sister, this is not weakness. This is trust. When Allah begins to take control of your destiny, He teaches your heart something very powerful. Not everything deserves your reaction. Before, your energy may have been scattered. You reacted to words, to opinions, to misunderstandings. You explained yourself again and again. You tried to prove your intentions. You tried to correct every false image people had of you. And it was exhausting. Now, Allah is teaching you rest. He is teaching you that your worth does not increase when you argue, and it does not decrease when you stay silent. Your worth is not decided by people's understanding of you. Your worth is already known by Allah. And when a heart truly understands this, it becomes still. The stillness is not empty. It is full of certainty. You may notice that when something unfair happens, you no longer rush to defend yourself. Instead, you feel a quiet calm inside you. Not because you agree with the injustice, but because you trust that Allah sees what people do not. You begin to realize that Allah is a better defender than you will ever be. Before, you may have believed that if you did not speak, your truth would be lost. Now, you trust that truth does not disappear just because it is not shouted. Allah preserves truth, and Allah reveals it at the right time. So your heart relaxes. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding with wisdom. And sometimes wisdom chooses silence. Silence does not mean you are unaware. Silence means you are selective. Allah is teaching you to protect your energy, because when Allah is preparing to elevate someone, He removes unnecessary battles from their life. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every opinion needs an answer. Not every accusation needs defense. Some things are best left with Allah. You may also notice that you no longer feel the urge to explain your choices to everyone. Before, you may have felt guilty for choosing peace. Now, you feel calm. You understand that people will misunderstand you whether you explain or not. So you choose peace. This is a high level of maturity. It means your heart is no longer seeking validation. It is anchored in trust. Allah is teaching you that when you let go of control, He steps in with care, and when Allah steps in, He does so quietly, powerfully, and perfectly. You may also notice that your reactions have slowed. You pause before responding. You reflect before speaking. You listen more than you talk. This pause is not hesitation. It is awareness. Allah is teaching you to respond from clarity, not emotion. And clarity is always stronger than reaction. Before, you may have said things you later regretted. Now, your words are fewer, but they carry weight. This is growth. Allah refines the tongue of those He trusts with responsibility. because words can build or destroy. And Allah does not give sharp tongues to hearts that are still learning patience. You may feel misunderstood during this phase. People may think you do not care. They may think you have changed. They may think you are distant. But Allah knows. He knows that your silence is not emptiness, it is strength. You are no longer reacting because you are no longer threatened. When Allah takes control of your destiny, He removes the need to fight every battle. He chooses battles for you. And the battles Allah chooses are the ones that matter. You may still feel emotion, you may still feel hurt, you may still feel disappointment, but you do not let those feelings control your actions. This balance is powerful. It means your heart is learning surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means trusting Allah enough to step back. And when you step back, Allah steps forward. He protects your name. He protects your honor. He protects your heart. Sometimes in ways you see, sometimes in ways you never will. So if you notice yourself becoming quieter, calmer, less reactive, do not be afraid. Do not force yourself to be loud again. Do not pressure yourself to explain everything. Allah is teaching you stillness. And stillness is not absence of strength. It is strength under control. Allah teaches you to trust without seeing the full path. My dear brother, my dear sister, there comes a stage in life where you realize something that can feel both calming and unsettling at the same time. You do not know what is coming next. You do not see the full picture. You do not understand why certain things are happening. You do not know how Allah will resolve what you are facing. And yet, your heart is not panicking the way it once did. This is new. Before, uncertainty used to frighten you. Not knowing used to keep you awake at night. Lack of answers used to make you restless. Now, you still do not have clarity, but your heart feels strangely calm. This calm is not because your problems disappeared. It is not because everything suddenly makes sense. It is because Allah is teaching your heart trust. Many people believe peace only comes after answers arrive. But Allah teaches His servants something deeper. Sometimes peace comes before the answers. And that peace is not natural. It is a gift. Because the human heart does not feel calm in uncertainty on its own. This calm comes from Allah. You may notice that you no longer rush to figure everything out. You no longer pressure yourself to have a complete plan. You no longer demand immediate clarity. This does not mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped forcing. You are learning to walk without seeing every step. And this is one of the highest forms of faith. Because true trust is not saying, I trust Allah when I understand. True trust is saying, I trust Allah even when I do not. Allah sometimes hides the road. So the heart learns to rely on Him, not the path. You may ask yourself, how can I be calm when I don't know what will happen? And the answer is simple but deep. Because Allah is still the one in control. Your uncertainty does not disturb Allah's plan. Your lack of answers does not confuse Allah. Your waiting does not delay what is written. So Allah places calm in your heart to protect you from fear. You may also notice that you are no longer obsessed with timelines. You are no longer constantly asking when. You are no longer comparing your journey to others. You are present, and presence is powerful. Allah is teaching you to live where you are instead of suffering in imagined futures. This does not mean you stopped planning. It means you stopped panicking. You still take steps. You still make effort, but you are no longer desperate. And desperation is what exhausts the soul. Allah does not want your faith to feel like anxiety. So He teaches you to rest in Him. You may feel moments of doubt. That is human. Faith does not mean the absence of questions. It means returning to Allah with those questions instead of letting them consume you. You may say quietly, Ya Allah, I don't understand this. Ya Allah, I don't see where this is going. But Ya Allah, I trust you. And this dua is powerful because Allah loves honesty. He does not ask you to pretend confidence you do not feel. He asks you to bring your uncertainty to Him. And when you do, He replaces fear with calm. You may notice that your heart now rests more easily in prayer. You may notice that silence no longer frightens you. You may notice that waiting does not feel as heavy as before. This is growth. Allah is strengthening your heart to carry responsibility, because a heart that panics at every unknown cannot carry big trust. So Allah trains you in small moments of uncertainty. He lets you wait. He lets you not know. He lets you feel the pause. And in that pause, He builds patience. Patience is not learned when life is easy. It is learned when answers are delayed. You may also notice that you stop trying to control outcomes. Before, you may have tried to manage everything. You tried to predict reactions. You tried to prevent loss. You tried to secure every possibility. Now, you do what you can, and then you leave the rest with Allah. This does not mean carelessness. It means wisdom. Allah is teaching you the difference between effort and control. Effort is your responsibility. Control belongs to Allah. And once your heart understands this, it relaxes. You may still feel moments of fear, but fear no longer rules you. It passes through, not over you, because your heart knows where to return. It returns to Allah, and returning to Allah always brings calm. This phase may feel slow. Waiting often does. But waiting with trust is different from waiting with fear. Waiting with trust strengthens the soul. Allah is not delaying you to harm you. He is timing things to protect you. And when the time comes, you will see why knowing less helped you trust more. Hope still lives in your heart, and that is not an accident. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is one sign that is often overlooked, yet it is the most beautiful of all. After everything you have been through, after the confusion, after the loss, after the waiting, after the quiet changes inside your heart, hope is still alive within you. You may not feel strong every day. You may not feel certain every night. You may still feel tired, emotional, or unsure. But somewhere deep inside you, there is still a gentle voice that whispers, Allah will make a way. That whisper is not your imagination. It is not false optimism. It is not denial. It is Iman. And Iman does not survive by accident. Allah does not leave hope in a heart He plans to abandon. If hope is still breathing inside you, then Allah is still writing your story. You see, many people lose hope when life becomes heavy. They stop expecting goodness. They stop believing change is possible. Their hearts become hard, guarded, and closed. But you, despite everything, you still turn back to Allah. You still make dua even if your words feel weak. You still pray even if your heart feels tired. You still believe even if you don't understand. This is not small. This is a sign of divine care, because Allah allows many hearts to break, but He does not allow the hearts He loves to lose hope completely. Hope is sacred. It is the rope Allah throws into the darkness so the heart does not drown. You may wonder sometimes, why do I still hope after all this pain? Why haven't I given up? Why do I still believe something better is coming? And the answer is simple but deep, because Allah is holding your heart. If Allah wanted you to stop believing, He would have allowed bitterness to replace hope. He would have allowed despair to settle permanently. But He did not. Instead, He allowed you to hurt, but He did not allow you to harden. That is mercy. You may feel disappointed in people. You may feel disappointed in outcomes. You may even feel disappointed in yourself. But you are not disappointed in Allah. And that matters, because disappointment in Allah closes the heart, but disappointment in creation often opens it wider. You may not realize this yet, but the reason you still hope is because Allah is slowly teaching your heart something very important. Your reliance is shifting. Before, you may have relied on people, on plans, on guarantees. Now you rely on Allah, and reliance on Allah is unshakable, because people change. Plans fail, guarantees disappear, but Allah remains. You may still feel fear at times. Hope does not mean fear disappears completely, but fear no longer controls you the way it once did. Hope balances fear. It keeps your heart from collapsing, and Allah places that balance deliberately. You may also notice that your hope is quieter now. It is not loud excitement. It is not impatience. It is not demanding. It is calm. It is steady. It is patient. This kind of hope is mature. It does not say it must happen now. It says it will happen when Allah knows it is best. Ends of That is a very high level of trust. Allah does not grant this kind of hope to hearts that are careless. He grants it to hearts that have been tested and softened. Your hope has survived pain. That means it is strong. You may look at others and think they have more certainty, more confidence, more answers, but often they have not been tested the way you have. Hope that survives ease is common. Hope that survives hardship is rare, and Allah treasures rare hearts. You may feel lonely sometimes in your hope, because not everyone understands waiting with faith. Not everyone understands trusting without evidence. Not everyone understands praying without immediate results. But Allah understands. And Allah is close to hearts that wait without resentment. Sometimes you may feel like your hope is the only thing keeping you standing, and that is enough. Because hope connected to Allah is never misplaced. It is never foolish. It is never wasted. It is never ignored. Allah hears the quiet du'as you make without words. He sees the patience you show when no one is watching. He knows the effort it takes to keep believing, and He honors that effort. You may not see changes outside yet, but inside something powerful is happening. Hope is keeping your heart alive. And a heart that is alive can be guided, healed, and elevated. A heart that loses hope becomes closed. Allah has kept yours open. That alone is proof that He is not finished with you. You may still be waiting. You may still feel uncertain. You may still have unanswered questions, but your hope is telling you something important. This story is not over. The chapter may be slow. The page may be heavy. The ink may be written with tears, but Allah is still writing. And when Allah writes, He does not abandon halfway. He completes. He perfects. He brings ease after patience. So if you feel hope stirring quietly inside you, protect it. Do not let the world shame you for believing. Do not let pain convince you to give up. Do not let delay make you doubt Allah. Hope is not weakness. Hope is worship. Because hoping in Allah is a form of trust. And Allah never disappoints those who trust Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very gentle Allah does with hope. He does not let it disappear all at once. Even when everything around you feels heavy, even when doors seem closed, even when answers are delayed, Allah leaves a small light burning inside your heart. That light is hope, and hope is not loud. It does not shout. It does not demand. It simply stays. You may feel tired some days. You may feel like you cannot carry the weight anymore. You may sit quietly and think, I am exhausted. But notice this carefully. Even in that exhaustion, you still believe Allah knows what He is doing. That belief is not small. It means your heart is still connected. Allah allows bodies to get tired, minds to get confused, emotions to feel overwhelmed, but He protects the connection of the heart. Because once the heart disconnects, everything else collapses. And Allah does not let that happen to the hearts He loves. You may sometimes feel like your hope is fragile, like it could break at any moment. But hope placed by Allah is stronger than it feels. It has survived nights you never thought you would survive. It has carried you through moments where you did not know how you would continue. If hope had no strength, you would not still be here. You would not still be praying. You would not still be trying. You would not still be believing. Allah has carried you this far. Sometimes Allah keeps hope alive not by changing your situation, but by changing how you see it. You may not see solutions yet, but you no longer feel completely trapped. You may not see light clearly, but you sense that darkness is not permanent. This sense is not imagination, it is guidance. Allah guides hearts before He guides circumstances. You may notice that your hope has become quieter with time. Before, you may have hoped loudly, impatiently, urgently. Now, your hope feels calmer, deeper, more settled. This is a sign of maturity. Allah is teaching your heart to hope without panic. Hope without panic is powerful. It means you trust Allah's timing, not just His ability. You may also notice that your hope is no longer tied to one outcome. Before, you may have said, if this happens, I will be okay. Now, you say, whatever Allah chooses, I will trust Him. This is a huge transformation. It means your peace is no longer conditional, and conditional peace is fragile. Allah is giving you unconditional trust. You may still feel sadness, Hope does not cancel sadness. It sits beside it. It says, yes, this hurts, but it is not the end. That sentence alone can save a heart. Many people lose hope because they believe pain means punishment. But Allah teaches His servants that pain can be preparation. You were not forgotten in your pain. You were being shaped. Hope survives in hearts that understand this. You may not see rewards yet, you may not see change yet, but Allah never wastes patience. Every moment you waited without turning bitter is recorded. Every tear you wiped while still trusting Allah is seen. Every night you struggled but did not give up is counted. Allah is just and Allah is generous. When He gives in ways that make you forget the waiting. Not always by giving you exactly what you imagined, but by giving you something that fits your heart better. Many people miss this. They expect Allah to fulfill hope in one specific way. When it arrives differently, they think they were disappointed. But often Allah fulfilled their hope in a higher form. He replaced what they wanted with what they needed. He replaced what they desired with what would heal them. He replaced what they imagined with what would last. And when that happens, you look back and understand why waiting was necessary. You may still be in the waiting now, and waiting can feel heavy, but waiting with hope is different from waiting with despair. Waiting with hope strengthens the soul. Allah often delays not because He is refusing, but because He is aligning everything perfectly. Your heart, your timing, your strength, your understanding. If Allah gave you what you wanted before your heart was ready, it could have harmed you. So He protects you from early blessings. Protection sometimes looks like delay, and hope helps you survive that delay. You may not realize this yet, but hope has already changed you. It has made you softer, more patient, more reliant on Allah, less attached to the world. These changes are priceless. Allah values what you are becoming more than what you are receiving, because who you become determines how you carry what you receive. If Allah has kept hope alive in you, then He is not finished. He does not abandon hearts halfway through transformation. Your destiny is still unfolding. And one day, when Allah lifts the veil, you will understand why hope had to stay alive all this time. You will see how it carried you safely to the place you were meant to reach. Until that day, hold on to it gently. Do not rush Allah. Do not rush yourself. Do not let delay make you doubt. Hope in Allah is never wasted. And Allah never disappoints a heart that waits for Him with trust. Never. My dear brother, my dear sister, if you stayed until this moment, then please understand something very gently. Allah saw you listening. Allah saw your patience. Allah saw the way your heart stayed open. And patience is never asked without a reason. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were never behind. You were being prepared in a way that protected you. What felt like confusion was alignment. What felt like loss was mercy. What felt like delay was Allah saving you from a version of life that would not have been kind to your heart. Do not rush what Allah is shaping. Not every blessing comes loudly. Some blessings arrive quietly as peace, as clarity, as relief you cannot explain. And when Allah changes a heart this gently, it is because what He is about to give is too heavy for the old version of you. So walk forward calmly. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to force what Allah has already written. Trust Him. If this reminder felt personal, do not describe your situation. Do not expose your pain. Simply write in the comments, I trust Allah. Let that be your dua. Let that be your strength. Let that be your patience. Allah knows the rest, and He has not forgotten you. Never.